Oh, wow, wow, wow. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to the show. I was trying to talk without a mic. So glad you're here. Hope you had a great Monday, had a great weekend, as I always say, and are excited for the rest of the week. If you were here last week, and if you haven't been here last week, we are talking about positivity. We're talking about the power of a powerful mindset. And last week we unpacked positivity. And today, on this episode, we're going to be talking about the science behind positivity. Because you may be thinking, oh, that's just some mumbo jumbo, right? But no, it's not. It is real, y'all, and there's science behind it. We're going to delve into that here tonight on this episode. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. Creating the life, that's right, that you and I have always wanted. So glad that you're here. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I would love to give you a hand clap and some music to welcome you to the show tonight. Also, if you're new and you don't know, and if you're here, if you've been here before, go ahead and put a Q in front of the question. If you do have a question as we go throughout the evening, as we go throughout the discussion, okay? So make sure you do that. I'm excited because you are here and just want to share with you some of the things that we've been doing. If you have not, of course, now my iPad is telling me that the battery is going to be gone. If you've not already been to our YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Make sure you get over there and pay attention to the things that we have been doing. So let me go ahead and pop that up here really quickly so that you can see. Let's see. Let's get that up. Yeah. If I can. All right, so I'm hoping that I am back on the stream. Not sure what happened there, guys. I just lost the stream there for a minute, and hopefully I've come back and you are still there. Yeah. I think I see us there. So what I was trying to do was to show you, go back to our YouTube channel, and for some reason, when I did that, it disconnected the stream. So there we are. Okay. Let's go there. Okay, so that's what I wanted you to see. Okay. So technology, right? When it works, it works. But as you see there, this is our channel, and these are the videos that we've done. I'm gonna just scroll down here for a minute. The first series that you'll see there is Mastering Diabetes, Essential Knowledge for People who are Diabetic. The next one that you'll see is Reinventing Yourself, Designing a New You, right? There you go. And then scrolling down further, The Art of Letting Go. And remember, that's the series that we just finished, right? We finished that, 2 weeks ago, right? And so or 3 weeks ago, because today is the second episode of our new series that we're doing, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And so that was a powerful series, guys and gals. I loved walking through that one because I learned so much myself. And then, of course, the new series that we're doing now is The Power of a Positive Mindset. The Power of a Positive Mindset is what we're doing here on the channel. And so we're in the second episode of that. And I see a friend and familiar face there. So Janet, thank you for coming through. Animal Paradise, Communicating and Healing. She says, so happy to see you. Glad that you are here as well, Janet. So always good to see familiar faces virtually, as we say. So glad that you are here. All right. So if you have not already subscribed, make sure you do that so that you can see all the things that we've done. I think at last count there were 411 videos that we have done, and we're coming up here this summer in August. Is going to be our 3-year anniversary. Can you believe it? We've been here doing this for 3 years and enjoying every moment of it. If you have been seeing if you have been seeing the shorts that we've been doing lately, you've seen that I've been talking at the end of the short. You've seen that thing coming soon, right? Today it was 8 days away, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we get later in the show, what that means, what that is, and how you can participate in that. Okay. And I see Florence is here. Florence says, good evening, Dr. Wood. Hey, Florence, always good to see you. And then of course, Janet saying hello to Florence. So let's jump into our discussion for tonight, because it is an amazing one, right? It's an amazing one. So we are talking about the power of a positive mindset. Right? Power of a positive mindset. That's the new series that we're doing. And last week we kicked off by talking about positivity. And tonight we're going to be talking about the science behind positivity and what that means for us as we try to become more positive and develop a better attitude, right? So in the last episode, we embarked on this adventure, and we went through unpacking the concept of positivity. We discovered that it's not just a buzzword. It's a holistic approach encompassing, and we had those 6 things that we talked about, right? So optimism, gratitude, constructive thinking, or 5, and resilience, along with mindset. And I talked last time about the 5-point positivity compass that helps us remember and use these concepts. So what does optimism? Optimism is looking at the future and having a positive thought about it, so that if something is going on now or something's happened in the past, that I still have some good outlook for the future, that the future is going to be okay. Whatever's going on right now may not be the way I want it, but looking into the future, I know things are going to be good. Then gratitude is being thankful for the things I do have. So the situation may not be the way I want, but I'm alive, I'm breathing, I've got family around me, I've got other resources that I can use, right? And then constructive thinking, I did a short about this one. If you are positive, then when something happens, your brain goes to solution mode as opposed to turning inward and basically sabotaging you, because you end up not doing the things that you need to do to be successful. And then mindfulness was the center of it all, connecting everything, because in order to be optimistic and have gratitude and have constructive thinking and be resilient, you've got to have a mindset that right now I'm okay. Right? I've got to be I've got to be enjoying the present, not pining away for what's gone before, and not bringing anxiety from the future into the present. Okay, so that's mindfulness. And then resilience, which I skipped, was bouncing back, being able to bounce back. So that's what we discussed last time that we were here. And we talked, like I said, about the 5-point positivity compass. That was the mechanism. That was the exercise that we did last time. So we talked a little bit about my story, and let me hop over and just say, before I continue, to say hi to Grace. Hey, Grace, how are you? Good to see you. Always glad that you are here. So Grace said hello to you, to Animal Paradise. Of course, Janet was saying hi to everyone. All right, good. So back to our discussion. So last time I was here, we told the story about medical school, and how in medical school I had some challenges, to say the least. And, thinking back to those times, thinking back to the things that were going on, I sometimes wonder how it was that I got through medical school. If you remember, or you may not remember, that I came into medicine from computer science and math. That was my background at the time. And coming into medical school, I had to learn new things. I had to learn new concepts. I had to learn new ways of thinking, right? Because it's different. The thinking or the thought process is different than it was in my math and computer science field. When you got into medicine, it was a lot different. So math and computer science, you were giving a problem, y equal mx plus b, right? That's the equation for the slope of a line. Or not the slope, but the equation for a line. So y equal mx plus b. And so you could reason, you can figure out the different components of the equation, right? So that was amazing because you could reason your way to it. In medicine, when I got to medicine, it was just a lot of memorization. It was like, okay, that thing right there, you just got to know what it is. There was really no way to reason your way to that thing. Now, as you got into the different specialties and different organ systems, there were concepts that were native, if you will, for that specialty. And so as you learned those, you began developing not a knack, but a scientific way of thinking about those things. Okay, but you had to learn that. And that, of course, brings us to the very first concept that I want us to talk about. It is the incredible ability of our brain to learn things. And this is called neuroplasticity. If you're out there, say to yourself, neuroplasticity, right? Neuroplasticity. It is the concept that the brain has the ability to learn and to change. That's what neuroplasticity is. It sounds like a big word, but all it is it's referring to the brain's ability to recognize and reorganize itself by forming new neural connections through our life. As we go through life, that's what's happening. So imagine your brain, first of all, like clay, constantly being molded and shaped and adapting to the things that are going on around us. Right. For a different concept of that, let's think about this. It's kind of you've probably passed the lawn, some public lawn somewhere, where people walked through the grass, and so many people walk through the grass that now there's this groove. Right, the grass is kind of beaten. That's where we got this idea of the beaten pathway. Right, so you keep going down the same thing, and so there's this groove that's been created. Now, neuroplasticity says that I'm going down that groove, but I develop another groove, if you will, so that I'm able to go somewhere else. It is the concept. Well, let's just say the concept. It's the practical application that we see when children are developing. So children are born, and their brains, there's really not a whole lot in there, right? So they're learning everything. It is what allows a child to begin learning to speak because they hear us say things, and when they hear it, the brain creates a pathway to that word. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? So let's take one child, and we'll take that child, and let's pretend that we could move that child around at different phases in their life. And we can go back in time. Okay? All right. So this is just a magic world. So if we take that child and we put them in an American home and they begin hearing us speak, then that child develops what? A language that is typically English, right? So, the common language here. And so if you listen to that child speak, that's what you hear, right? Because their brains have created these grooves, and they've connected words and concepts and thoughts, and they can speak and they can read and so forth. Make sense? Okay. So let's take that same child and let's go back in time, and we'll take that child and we'll place the child in a Filipino home in the Philippines. And now, if we listen to that child as they grow, they're hearing people speak the language, with the intonations and the accent. And now if you listen to that child, that's what they sound like. They sound like they are from the Philippines. When I came to the United States, if you listen to me speak, you say, oh my goodness, where is he from? Right? Because I grew up listening and hearing a certain type of speech, certain candor, a certain tenor in the speech. And that's how I sounded. And then I moved to the United States. In my brain, the neuroplasticity had to kick in, right? Because now I had to learn the pronunciation of words. I had to learn the concepts. And so neuroplasticity took over and I began learning. Here's another example. So someone, let me go back to my slides here. All right, someone is in a car crash. Let's say his name is James, and he lost the mobility of his legs. Right. And so now, and we talk about this a lot, right? So if we see people who've been in accidents, we send them to physical therapy. And what do we say? Oh, my brother had to relearn how to walk. He had to relearn how to speak. He had to relearn how to use his hands. So what's going on there? Well, the brain is making new connections, right? Because the old ones, the brain may not be able to access. So that process is what we talk about when we talk about neuroplasticity. So the ability of the brain to adapt continuously. And this allows us to develop new skills and to recover, for example, in this case, from injury to the brain. So we're developing those new neural networks, those new connections. So how does positivity play a role in our thinking? Our thoughts and experiences are out there, and how does that affect what we do? How does that mold our brain? Well, we just talked about this process that happens when we experience new things, right? When we're learning new things or we have to develop new skills. So let's talk about neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. And particularly I want to talk about dopamine and serotonin. So dopamine and serotonin, right? These are the pleasure hormones. So we talk about dopamine, and we talk about dopamine a lot when we talk about addiction, right? So it is the hormone, it is the feel-good hormone. And in fact, if we think about it, dopamine is the anticipatory hormone. It's kind of like when you're anticipating doing something and you're excited about it, a lot of dopamine is flowing. Right? Lots of dopamine is going around. So that when and sometimes, right, it's almost a letdown, right? Because you're anticipating going back to that restaurant that you went to like years ago. Or you're anticipating going back to that place that you went to a long time ago. And those hormones are coming up. And the hormones, the feel-good hormones, right? If the thing that we get gives us enough of a punch, enough of a high, enough of a feel-good, then that pathway is developed and it's reinforced. It's the thing that happens when people develop habits that we say are bad, or dopamine is the culprit in addiction, because we develop a need for, in some case, physical need. That's when it gets to addiction. We develop that need for that thing because it gives us that feeling that we like. And so we're always going back to that. So that's the development. We're changing connections. We're changing synapses. It's the reason that we can, and you remember the old experiment, right? Pavlov and his dogs, right? So there's this scientist, and he's feeding the dogs. He's giving them food. And every time he gives them food, he rings a bell. So he gives them food, he rings a bell. He gives them food, he rings a bell. He gives them food, he rings a bell. So now what's happening? The dogs are developing an association between the food and the bell. Because the food, it makes them feel good. They're hungry, they're satisfied, right? Their bellies are full. And the bell is ringing at the same time. And so then he decides what he's going to do is he's going to not bring food and ring the bell. So let's go back in the experiment. So every time he brought the food, the dog salivated because they're anticipating, right? Oh, this is going to be so good. Oh, yum, 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 yum. I do that sometimes. I'm sure you do that sometimes too. Right? You're anticipating something. And so bring the food, ring the bell. Bring the food, ring the bell. Bring the food, ring the bell. And all the time while the dogs are getting the food, they're salivating. And then he decides, hey, well, let me see what happens. So I'm not going to bring any food, but I'm going to ring the bell. And what do you think happens when he rings the bell without bringing the food? Yeah, the dogs salivate because they've associated the food and the bell. So in their minds, now they've created this pathway that every time the bell rings, hey, I salivate, even though there's not any food. I mean, so the brain is this amazing thing. So dopamine does that for us. So as we do things like positive thinking, as we do things like do mantras, as we do things like mindfulness, when we do meditation, when we have a daily routine that we do, all of those things, right, can help these neurotransmitters to come out. And the neurotransmitters are helping us to build patterns. And so that plasticity is in play again, because the brain is developing a new pathway. And so all the things that we are learning, right? And so these are just examples, the children who are growing, or the person who is in a car accident who loses the use of a limb, or these neurotransmitters. So there are so many things that are going on in the brain that are helping to shape, reform, change the structure. See, there's a come. So we're actually changing the structure of the brain. So all these rewirings that the brain is doing. So that is an amazing process. So like I said, dopamine is considered that reward, right? That feel good thing. And serotonin keeps our mood stable. So positivity or positive thinking can actually improve the levels of both of those. Yeah. So let's jump back here and let's introduce Emma. So Emma struggles with depression. And so Emma and her counselor are trying all kinds of things to try to get her better. And so one day the counselor recommends that Emma begin doing some volunteering at a local soup kitchen. She recommends lots of different places. So Emma doesn't want to do it, but she goes out and she does it. And so she's now interacting with people. She's doing things for other people. Her counselor recommends that Emma begins journaling and that she begins finding a thing each day to be grateful for. And over time, because Emma is helping, because Emma is journaling, because she's trying to be positive, those neurotransmitters come out. And after a while, guess what? Emma's depression begins to improve. Now, let me hasten here to say that there are times when people actually need medication for things like depression and anxiety and a whole host of things which we won't get into today. There is no shame in using medication to treat these processes. We've kind of stigmatized some of the mental health issues that people have. But there's nothing wrong in taking medication for depression. I just wanted to throw that in there. But in this case, we're talking about neuroplasticity and the positive benefits of hormones. So I want to make sure that you know that, yeah, there's a place for medication. But positivity, like Emma did, volunteering, journaling, even doing mantras, very important. And they begin helping because we're changing the shape. We're changing the structure. We're changing the connections that we have in the brain. Yes? All right. So this just shows how intertwined our thoughts are with the physical structure and chemistry of the brain. So positive thinking isn't just an abstract concept. It is a tangible process. It has tangible effects right inside our heads. So just amazing. So when we think about positivity and we think about mindset, what are the benefits? Right? Are there benefits? Well, there are three that I want to talk about: enhanced cognitive function, stress reduction, and resilience. Enhanced cognitive functions, stress reduction, and resilience. So enhanced cognitive function, what does that mean? That means that when we are positive, our brain, our minds are open more to the world. And as a result, we are more creative. We are able to manage things better. We're able to think. We're able to be more calculating. We're able to be more analytical. So all of those things can happen. So enhanced cognitive function. All of that happens when we are positive. Right? Imagine students who may be struggling. They're struggling with whatever the subject is that they're studying. And they're like, so here's students saying, "When I can't do this, I'm going to fail this exam." What do you think happens in the brain when that student says that? Right? So they're essentially creating the environment. They're creating the environment in which they won't be successful. And we have a second student who say, "Hey, I'm studying. I'm going to do well on this exam." So the thought processes become open and more creative, and they're able to remember more because they have allowed themselves to be positive. And you can look the studies up. So positivity helps with cognitive function. Positivity, second, helps to reduce stress. So stress reduction. So we know that being positive decreases cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And cortisol has all kinds of different things. We've talked about cortisol in the past, and we're going to talk about it again in the future. But decreasing cortisol, right? Because we're positive. Let's talk about cortisol itself. So decreasing cortisol can lower your blood pressure. It can help you lower your weight. It can help you lower your blood sugars. It can help you get better sleep. It can help you interact with people more kindly. You're not as anxious. You're not as irritable. So that's what decreasing cortisol can do. And if we are positive, then the positivity decreases the cortisol level. So hence, all the things that are downstream to the decreased cortisol level are there. So improved stress. And then resilience. And resilience, if you remember, is the ability to bounce back when things aren't going our way. Resilience is the ability to have something happen and have the I was going to say resilience, but I was taught you can't use a word to define the word, right? So the ability you have when something happens for that thing, for you to bounce back from it. That's what resilience is. So this thing didn't go the way I wanted. I didn't get the book. I didn't get the contract. I didn't get the job. That girl, that boy, that man, that woman that I wanted to go out on a date with, when I asked them, they rejected me. And I use the example of like a top, right? The top bounces into something and it comes back. It bounces back. So all those things can happen, but that doesn't mean that it stops you in your tracks. You come back and say, yeah, that happened. Boom, there it is. And I shared with you guys last week that there was something that was going on in my life that I was trying that didn't work, right? And it took me a while. It took me a while to bounce back. But guess what, y'all? I'm back. Yeah. So the benefits of positivity. I love it. And we are once again working on this idea of mindset, right? We're working on this idea of a positive mindset. That's what we're doing. Now, I want to hop over and I want to talk. And so as we move forward in the series, and hopefully on the show, we'll be doing this. We had someone, this was from our Twitter account. Someone asked a question about one of the shorts that I did. And this was the short that I did on toxic positivity. And let's see, let's get back over there. So toxic positivity. And so I'm going to begin answering some of those questions here on the show. And this is from Angela. Actually, let me back up. Sorry, that's a different question. So this one is from Shannon. So Shannon says, if you have toxic positivity says that there is this euphoric place that we've all got to be in. We can't be anxious. We can't be worried. We just have to be joy all the time, right? So it doesn't allow us the ability to be balanced in our thought process. So that's what toxic positivity is. And so I did a short today on this, which came from our show, by the way. And let me go ahead and let me see. Can I? All right. So let me hop over here. I'm going to show that to you. Oops. So we did a short, and that's the short playing there. So I'm gonna hop back over here. This is like everybody and all time should be. Ever get you down. Nothing should ever cause you to question. Nothing should ever cause you to doubt. Nothing should ever cause you to be angry or frustrated. That's toxic positivity. All right, so that's from the short that I did. And so Shannon says, this is very insightful. Thank you, Dr. Wood, for sharing this information, right? And then she asks, good morning, sorry, I gotta pull that up again. All right. She said, this is very interesting. I completely agree that it's not possible to be euphoric 100% of the time. However, what is your position on encouraging and building capacity in others so that it doesn't present as toxic positivity? Right? So what is your position on encouraging and building capacity in others so that it doesn't present as toxic positivity? So Shannon, thank you for that, and shout out to you for engaging with us. So let me hop back over here and let's talk about some things that we discussed last time. If you recall, we talked about how to avoid toxic positivity, right? So how to avoid toxic positivity. And number one was acknowledge all emotions. Because toxic positivity says that the only emotion that we should have is this kind of joyous, euphoric attitude, right? So we can't see anything. But in order to avoid toxic positivity, we've got to acknowledge all emotions. So not just the times when we're happy, but also the times when we're sad, when we're mad, when we are, whatever the emotion is. Okay? And so when people come to us, in order to help them build their capacity, right? Because we're working on ours as well. But in order to help them build their capacity, we've got to allow them to be able to share. We have got to allow them to be able to emote whatever it is they're feeling, and not make them feel that the only thing they should be is, we say, it's going to be okay. Maybe it is going to be okay, but right at that moment, that's not what the person needs. They need to be able to express the fact that I'm frustrated, that I'm mad, that I'm unsure of myself, that I have self-doubt. But what we do is we cut that process off by not allowing them to share all the things that they're feeling. Right? And then we've got to practice authenticity. Now, this goes beyond the emotion, the sharing of the emotions. Authenticity not just deals with emotions, but it also deals with who we are at our core. Right? So there are certain things that you know that you don't do. Certain things you know you don't want to do. Certain places you know you don't want to go. And what we do sometimes, in order to maintain what we think is a good relationship, is we're not authentic. We don't share ourselves because we are afraid of rejection. That really is what it is. Okay? And once again, in order to build capacity in other people, we've got to allow them to be authentic. And you know why people are not authentic? Because of our response to them. And so to build capacity, our response has to be gentler and kinder. Now, I don't agree with everything that everybody says. I don't. But I allow them to express that. Because I know that they are trying to express themselves, and if I negate that, it's kind of like when a child is growing up, right? Hopefully we don't. We don't shut down all of their thoughts and ideas because it doesn't allow them to think and process. Because our goal is to develop well-adapted human beings, and so we allow them to express what their thoughts are. And that's what we've got to do with people when they come to us. And then we've got to aim for emotional agility, which says that we are able to deal with the emotions as they come. So not only do we have to allow ourselves and people to express the emotions and to be authentic, but we've now got to learn how to deal with all the emotions. Part of what causes addiction for some people is the inability to deal with emotions, not just bad emotions, but also good emotions. So there are people who are addicted to substances, alcohol, pornography, all those things, not because they are dealing with some traumatic thing, but they've just never learned how to deal with emotions. So they can be promoted at their job, and it's excited and everybody's happy and they're happy about it. They're joyous about it, but the emotions that come out, they don't know how to process that. So they go drink and it calms them down. Right? So the emotional agility is the ability to deal with emotions and not to have it push you to the extremes. And so building capacity helps people. We help people deal with the emotions, right? We sit in that space with them. But sometimes we're so uncomfortable that we try to back out of that space. Okay. And then balance positivity with realism. So this is the not being an ostrich. Right. So I told the story of being in medical school. And for me, that was a very traumatic time. Okay. So I tell the story of taking those exams over and over and over and over. And I was positive all the time. Well, not all the time. Let me not say that. That's not true. I was positive a lot of the time. But realism was starting to set in. To say, hey, dude, you've been at this for a little while. You've got a family, right? You're spending all this time away, because I was going away to study for the exam. We were spending money, right? I was becoming depressed. And so the realism had to come and balance with the positivity. Because as I said, with one of the misconceptions is that just because you're positive that everything is going to work out. No, there are times that you can be super positive and the thing that you want still doesn't work out. But that's where the resilience comes in, and the adaptability and the optimism that even though this didn't work out, I'm still going to be okay. But balancing that positivity and realism is so important. So Shannon, to answer your question, what's my stance on helping to build capacity in everyone else? I love it. I love the idea, because as I'm learning, I'm in the creator space, and some of my creator friends are here. Hey Tatiana, how are you? So some of my creative friends are here. And as we are learning and growing, we're helping each other expand. And so part of our responsibility as we develop and as we grow and we become more enlightened, as we let go from, for instance, our last series, where we let go of all those things of fear in the past and all the things that we let go of, and we're building this positive mindset. When people come to us now, right, our responsibility is to help them also develop better ways of dealing with things. And so, Shannon, thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. I'm going to shorten this. That was a long answer. I'm going to shorten this, and I'm going to post it in a response to you. And so, Shannon, once again, was from our Twitter. I said YouTube, but Shannon is one of our Twitter followers. Okay. So glad when I see you out there. So let me just pop this up here. So let's get back and let's see some of the comments. So Great said, it's amazing how you explain these complex terms and concepts, Doc. You described things the way I could relate to them. Thank you, Grace. Thank you. And then let's see. Tatiana says, yes, acknowledge and accept that we have negative emotions, not sweep them under the rug. Definitely, Tatiana. And guys, if you've not been over to Tatiana or Janet, Animal Paradise, or Tatiana Teaches, make sure you do that and avail yourself of the benefit of their channels. Tatiana, just to say to you, one of the emotions, right, that people talk about is this idea of public speaking, right? So they're afraid, they're anxious, and was it yesterday? We're having a series at our church, and one of the pastors came, and he said he was you'll get it, you like this one, Tatiana. He says that he used to stutter as a even in college. And so he walked into the class one day. He came early, and the teacher asked him, he was in college, teacher asked him to read a passage in the book, to help out in the class. And so he was in the class, and he was just so worried and so anxious that he told the teacher that he had to go to the bathroom. And so he left, and he ditched class that day because of the anxiety. And so he's telling us this story, and if you hear him, if you listen, he said, I still have somewhat of a stutter, but I've learned how to deal with it. So all those types of feelings that we have, right, that we don't share, right? Being authentic, one of those things that we talked about on this list here. For a long time, for me, and I mean, you know, since we're talking about being authentic, for a long time, I could not tell the story of failing those classes. Yeah, not classes, but failing those exams. Right? I couldn't tell that story for years and years and years. When I say years, I'm not talking about like 2 years, guys. I'm talking about lots of years. I wouldn't tell that story. But what I'm learning is that the benefit of the things that I've gone through is that other people get to share that experience and maybe not go through the same thing, or at least see someone and say, hey, that guy did, you know, he went through the same things that I did, right? So we could identify. So positivity is one of those amazing tools that we don't use often, that we neglect. We put it on the shelf and we don't bring it out except on those special occasions. So as we're going through this series, right, the power of a positive mindset, know that positivity does not mean that you have to be positive all the time. And know that there is science behind it. It's not just some mumbo jumbo. It's not just something that somebody came up with. There are actual studies. There are benefits that we have proven from being positive. And my hope is that as we get through this series, as we work into the series, that we will find that this ability to be positive, to have a positive mindset, will unlock those doors that have been closed, that have kept us stuck for such a long time. That's our goal, right? So we're going through that. Now, as we're talking about that positivity, there are people who are watching right now who are stuck in so many very different places. I hope that as we went through the Letting Go series, that you found places where you could connect, you can latch on, and that you can begin shedding some of those anchors that are currently keeping you down. As we go through the positivity, right, the power of a positive mindset, I hope that you are also finding places where you can begin shedding things that are keeping you back. Because it's not an overnight thing. So it's not like all of a sudden you watch a video or you see this series or you watch this and then tomorrow everything is great. It is a process that continues to go on. And back in April, we did our Sugar Busters program. Sugar Busters program, and it was very successful. People came in, they began learning about their health and began doing things that put them on the track for being healthy. Right, Sugar Busters, because you can't talk about any chronic disease without talking about sugar. And so I've been thinking about, well, how do I make, so we had such a good time there. How do I make that process available to people? And today, 8 days from now, we have something that's going to be coming out that I think is going to help. If you have chronic disease, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, if you're struggling with blood sugar, struggling with weight, if you are, I'm going to show you as we get through this week, I'm going to show you pictures. I'm going to come show you some pictures of me. And the reason I want to show you the pictures of me is that at one time, I was about 290 pounds. And I want to talk about two things as it relates to that. One is I want to talk to you about shame. What do you think it's like? What goes on in your head if you're the guy or gal that's studying to be an endocrinologist and you're 290 pounds? What do you think goes on in your mind? There is a lot of fear, doubt, shame, regret, guilt. Number one. The second thing I want to talk to you about is the result of those things. Because those things are there in our minds, we hide. I was at church this past weekend, and one of the members said to me, she said, "I'm so excited to see more of you." She said, "You're out, I could see you doing things." And I'll tell you, I did not do things for a long time because I was ashamed. I didn't tell the story of medical school for a long time because I was ashamed. And so we hide. And we become stuck in places where we shouldn't be stuck. We become less than we thought we wanted to be. And when I say we become less, there is so much potential. There is so much joy. There's so much growth. There's so much amazing things in us. But we hide those things because of doubt, because we don't think we should be there, because, oh my God, what are they going to say about me? Oh my God, what do I look like? Oh my God, I don't know what to say. And so 8 days from now, we're going to have something that's going to help you get unstuck. Because we're working through this process together. And it really doesn't matter where you start. The concepts are exactly the same, guys. So pay attention. Keep an eye out. It's coming. That's 8 days. 8 days, right? Did I say 8 days already? That's right, 8 days. Keep an eye out there for what we're gonna put out, and you'll see that begin rolling out over the next week. Well, good, awesome. Oh, look at that, we've got more people. What? Look at this. Let's see who we got. Janet says, "This is so true, and remembering gratitude as you mentioned. Love it. She said, "Oh, I can't wait." Yes. Oh, toxic shame. Wow, Janet, that is the title of a show. I got to do that. Hi, Dr. Dwayne. Hi, Janet. Hi, Tatiana. And then Janet saying hi to Lala. All right. Well, guys, this is a great place for us to do our thought of the day. So let's do that right now. All right. So, in everything that we are talking about, in everything that we do, everything you hear me say on the channel, there is one thing that you can do in your life to begin working your way to a better place, to a better life, to getting unstuck. And if you are currently not journaling, you got to start putting it down. Now, some of you are watching me right now. Some of you are looking at me like, well, I don't like doing that stuff. That doesn't do anything for me. I can remember it in my head. And you probably can remember it in your head. And you are probably adapting right now. You're probably you're very successful. But imagine how farther you can be. So I recommend journaling to all of my clients. I recommend journaling to my patients. When I talk to people who are having problems and issues, I recommend journaling to them because it's a great way to record what is going on at the time. You may not want to share that with someone else. Put it in the journal. If you don't like writing, get a journal where you dictate, right? On your phone, you got the memos, or that's on iPhone. I'm not sure what it's called on other places. But begin recording it. It's a great way to be able to look back and see the growth that you've had. It's a great way to document the process that you are going through to make the changes that are going to make you successful. It's a great way for you to chronicle where you are as we go through this series about the power of positive mindset. It's a great way for you to begin writing and journaling, writing and chronicling, I meant to say, the things that you are learning. And it's going to be a great way for you to be able to share that when you are ready. When you've overcome that thing, when you've been successful, when you're unstuck, when you're ready to tell the world the growth that you've had, guess what? It's right there. So if you're not doing it yet, I recommend it. There's so many different places you can find journals online, and I don't have a specific one that I'm recommending, but yeah, journaling is very, very important. So if you're not doing it yet, make sure you are. And that is our thought for today. All right. So let's see. And I see some folks commenting about journaling. Let's see if I can bring some of those up. Don't forget. Yeah. So Janet said, don't forget to like. Yes, guys, if you have not already done so, please go ahead and give us a like for this show and for the series that we're doing. Janet says, journaling is so important. I have an app and love looking back over the years. You can add photos too. So powerful. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Janet. Mommy Guide, this is Lala. She says, agree. Journaling can be very mindful ways to release negativity and stress and also put motivation. Encourage oneself towards positivity. Yes, love that. And we actually did, Lala was on my show back in the end of last year. So thank you for coming through. And Lala says she agreed, Janet. I do it with actual paper journals. Yeah, and his once again, I told you to go over to Janet's Animal Paradise, Tatiana Teaches, and of course Mommy Guide, because they did actually a show on journaling just a little while ago. I think, was it last week? Her and Gina did some journaling. So lots of different ways that you could journal, guys and gals. So just make sure that you do that. All right. Lala, you have great journals live. Yeah. And then Vivian Barnes, very therapeutic. Thank you, Vivian. Let me give you a hand clap, and some music. Thank you for coming through. So once again, guys and gals, thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging, and thank you for being part of our community. If you've not done so, please make sure you get over to our channel. Like, subscribe, share. You can find us on, all of our social media platforms. And it is simply Dwayne Wood MD, right? So Dwayne Wood MD is our channel, and we put out content constantly. So we have shorts that are coming out. You can get over to the website. That's DwayneWoodMD.com. And let me go ahead and pop that up really quickly. DwayneWoodMD.com. Okay, and so on our channel, you can get our free resource, which is 7 Keys to Success. You can see our blog, which is growing, right? So we've got a whole bunch of things that are out there. And remember, those blogs sometimes will coincide, a lot of times coincide with what we're doing here on the channel, and just takes it a little deeper. Of course, our podcast, make sure you get over there and watch that. And we have got a growing list of things there as well. And you can go ahead and sign up for our waiting list for our Sugar Busters, right? So remember, that's the one I told you that we did back in April. And then our Ready, Set, Grow, which is our coaching program. And if you'd like to work with me specifically, you can go to the website and sign up for coaching. And the coaching program, Coaching Beyond the Disease, right? As you hear me say, this is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, we educate, we empower, and we encourage, right? So we're doing, it's a holistic view, not just for your diabetes, not just for your thyroid or for your weight. It begins with mindset. Because remember, our thoughts, our beliefs dictate how we respond to things that happen. And our beliefs dictate how we feel about things. And when we feel a certain way, then we do a certain thing. And when we do a certain thing, then we get a certain result. So it all begins right here. So make sure that if you're interested, go ahead and do that with us. So thank you. And let's see, Lala, once again, is okay. So Janet said, thanks, Dwayne. Lala said, thank you, Dr. Dwayne, Janet, Tatiana, everyone. Have a great rest of the evening and get some rest. And congratulations, Dr. Wade. Awesome programs. Thank you. All right. Well, that's it for tonight, guys. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. Create the life you've always wanted. We are talking about the power of positive mindset. Come back next week for our next show, and you will not be disappointed. Good night.